Hello and welcome, strategy game lovers. It's Strategy Gaming Dojo, where we find, learn, and play one more turn of the great strategy games. And today we've got a Gary Grigsby Palooza, War in the East. We continue on with part 8 of that series. Now we've just completed turn 1. We made pretty good progress. I was happy with most of the north. I was very happy with the center. Not so happy with the South, but that's okay. We can recover if you do make a mistake or if you don't like quite how it plays out in turn 1. If you would want that to be anywhere, you would want that to be in the South. You can make up a lot of ground down there. There is a lot of open territory once the panzers get rolling. So we will recover. Will we recover in time to have conquered the Soviet Union by the time War in the East 2 comes out? Now that's the other time crunch that we're under, besides beating the Soviet winter. David J. Rousson, welcome, sir. Oh, and Race to 100, thank you so much for the subscription. I always forget to mention that. People tell me, why don't you mention, get people to sign up and stuff like that. It's not really about that for me, but if you would like to and support the channel, it is always appreciated. So thank you much. As I've said on previous broadcasts here, we are growing by leaps, and I am humbled by it, and I always appreciate it. So thank you very much. All right. So I said Grigsby Palooza because I'm also going to do a War in the Pacific stream right after this one. So we've got 2 wars going on. We're fighting all of World War II here. Well, there are a few locations left out, not the war in the West, but of course, part of that came a little bit later, or most of that came a little bit later. At least the part covered by that game. Now, wouldn't that be something if Gary Grigsby finally put out a World at War? Now, I know he has one, but a World at War based on these games would really be something and would probably crash supercomputers around the world. So anyway, let's jump in and look at where we stand in the north, which is where we're going to focus today. I said when we started this game that the way I like to play this and what I think is important is to go to the north, Army Group North, and go and try to take Leningrad. So pretty much everything from a broad objective standard for me is to get to Leningrad as fast as we can and to take it. Once we do that, we unlock Finnish troops to sort of subdue any problems in the north, and we can turn Army Group North to the south and come down and attack Moscow from that way, which actually ends up, I think, being far more lethal to them than the Soviets, than trying to come from the south. When you bring Army Group Center across, you're going to have, one prong that's a little bit kind of going straight towards Moscow. You'll have another prong, the 4th Army, that's coming south of Moscow and has to turn north, and it gets thick as thieves with Soviet units down there. But if you can take the pressure off of that by coming down from the north, it really adds a whole different element to what you're doing. Okay, so when we start a new turn, where do I go? What do I look at? What's important? What do we have to do before we can start moving counters and units around? Okay, well, the first thing I always go and look for is, did we get any new units? And we did this time. Now, usually new units form up right here, kind of like west of Berlin, here on the edge of the map. They'll be right over in this area, generally. I'm trying to think if there's any other places where they pop up, and I can't really think of any. They generally are always going to pop up over to the west of Berlin, and so you can kind of, don't count on that. Always go look at commanders' reports, always go do those things, because I don't want you to say, well, gosh, you told me nothing would ever, pop up elsewhere. I can't think of anything that does. It's been a little while since I played the Grand Campaign, but I think they're pretty much always here. And we did get some new units this time. Now, these are attached to OKH, so they're immediately attached right off the top to your main headquarters. That's not ideal. We don't like that, right? Because OKH is going to be way behind the lines, and so the supply, it just is not efficient to have them with OKH. So we got to start thinking about who are we going to assign them to and why? Where are we taking our first group of reinforcements? Well, as I kind of led off the show with, we are going to be focusing on pushing to Leningrad first. And I can tell you, just having done this a few hundred times, that one of the biggest problems you have pushing to Leningrad is this southern part of the northern sector. So, Vitebsk is kind of Army Group Center's problem, but Army Group North, you've got Veli Luki here. You've got to the east of Peskov, you've got Novgorod, but you're going to be having a lot of reinforcements coming this way, coming from east to west. And of course, you could peel off. Well, let's back up for a second and let's just talk about what we have over here. I'm going to, uh, from my zoom a little bit so we can kind of see what's going on. All right. So now we have the 18th Army up here, all in kind of a purplish color. And what is the 18th Army going to do? Now, for those of you that have watched the channel for a while, you know I'm very upset that with this recording, when we go on Twitch, I cannot use my pencil. And I do love to draw, mainly because I have zero artistic talent. So it's kind of funny. It adds quite a bit of levity to the video. But if I could draw, I would draw an arrow from our 18th Army here, from there to Riga, to north up here near Tallinn, and then to Leningrad. So I bring the 18th Army from Riga north and have them attack this way for the most part. Now I do have a corps that maybe will stay back here and help clean up the Peskov pocket, or what we hope is the Peskov pocket. Then we've got another army down here, of course, and this is the 16th Army. The 16th Army, we're going to try to get across the Daugava here, and then we're going to move it straight to Peskov, and then on to Novgorod, and that's what I use the 16th for. And then the 18th and the 16th say, hey, we'll meet up at Leningrad. And so they hope to have a nice fall here in Leningrad, but that's how I move them up. Well, now what's a problem with this? Well, this line from Veli Luki to Novgorod is extremely long, this front here. There's just not it's got some impassable terrain or not good terrain. You see swamp here. It's forested, it's mountains, it's swamp. But there are places for Soviet units to start trying to attack your front. And so getting units over here that are kind of holding units are very important. And that's what I like to do with this first group of reinforcements that we have here, because they are not that powerful. They're not really that great. You see here a 5 of 16. Their defensive number is a little bit better. This combat value is offensive, right? But, you can see here 13-7 on defense. But essentially, when we get them over there, what I like to have them do is hold the line on the southern end of the northern sector. All right, so what do we have to do first? Well, we have to get them railed up to what is now not the front, but at least as far as our rail lines extend, so we can actually bring them all right here. They're not blocking anything. And when we get them up here, well, before we do that, let's do one thing. You get reinforcements. One other thing that you want to take under consideration is how many command points each of your armies are commanding. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Let's go to the headquarters for the 16th Army. Did I say 16th? I meant 18th. Let's go to the headquarters for the 18th Army. There it is, 18th Army. And if you look down here, you see the little tank. It says 20 of 24. So right now, the 18th is commanding 20 of its 24 that it could be commanding. And remember, every division is 2 points. Well, we've got 3 divisions back there. And so, you know, this is 20 of 24. It's undersubscribed a little bit. Let's go to the 16th Army headquarters. Where is that? Here? No, it's right around here somewhere. Or we could go to Army Group North, click Shift Z, and we'll see everything it's commanding. And that will point us. There's Army Group North. There's Army Group North. Come on. Shift Z. Shift Z. There we go. All right. So there it is, 16th Army. It's commanding 22 of 24. Okay. Now I can just tell you that I know what I'm going to do later in the turn, and so we're eventually going to put those units somewhere down here in the 16th Army. Now we'll have to look at the corps and see how subscribed they are. For instance, here is the 10th Corps. The 10th Corps is only commanding 4 of the 8 points it could be commanding. So this would be a good place maybe to put some of these new units, but we're actually, well, we may go ahead and assign them this turn. It's not hyper important, right? I mean, they're going to be in good supply by the time they get up here. They're going to be close to OKH, so we don't have to do it this turn. But I'm going to be ticketing them for the 16th Army. Probably 2 of them maybe in the 10th Corps and another one in one of the other corps. So let's go ahead and get on there and let's rail them up to the front. Somewhere up here, and you see when you go on rail, once you get your cursor back out over the map, it will light up. So where is the best place to bring these guys? Maybe, I mean, we know they're going to go with the 16th now. We could get them across the river here, even though it looks like they're a little closer to the 18th. You know, the 16th is going to be moving here and then here. Well, let's just put them right here. We'll just rail them up right there. And you can see they're connected to OKH here. That's why I like to have that pink line, or I do the Shift Z, so you get the orange lines and the blue lines. You can tell what everything is connected to. All right, so one thing that drives me crazy about this game, if I did have a complaint, is that when you move something by rail, they move 1 unit at a time all of that distance. So we're going to be sitting here for a good minute or 2 as they try to make their way up here by rail. I wish there was like you could just like zoom it up here, you know. But if that's your complaint about a game, it's a pretty damn good game. How's the feed out there today, Dave? Does it look pretty good? Lag? Any lag? We got any anything like that going on? Just let me know if you guys do. I'll mess around with something. All right, I think we've almost got him there. Whew. Yes, we do. Now I think we probably do not have enough points to take them off the train. Yeah, that took up a lot of points. So the longer you go by train, you use up what are called strategic points, and when you get to your location, you need 15 to get them off the train. Yeah, that did not happen. So anyway, what are we gonna do? Hold on, I'm just looking at this feed a little bit. Let's move. There we go. Let's change our settings a little bit. Give me just 1 second. I'm messing around with the video feed here. I want to make sure that you guys are getting a good picture. All right, enough of that. Okay, so we've moved these guys up here. We cannot get them off the train this time. As you can see, they just don't have any real movement points left. But it's really based on what are called strategic movement points, which are the rail movement points, how far you can move something by rail this turn. And as you see up here, we have a rail cap. We've used a great deal of that moving these guys up here. That reminds me, one other thing I want to do, because it's driving me absolutely crazy, is to get Army Group North off the train. All right, so Army Group North is no longer on the train. Excellent. Now then, what do I do next? We've moved our reinforcements, the only reinforcements that we have this turn. So now what do we do? Well, there's this kind of quirk, I call it a quirk to the game. It makes sense to me why it works this way, but you could also look at it as kind of a loophole or kind of a little bit gamey. Um, but hey, anybody that plays this game at a high level uses this system, and that is the fact that you can jump air squadrons. You can jump them from one airbase to another pretty much no matter how far away they are. Now, it has to be within their range, the range of the squadron, but you can jump that. Oh, thanks, David. Okay, so good. Hopefully, you won't have any buffering issues. You can jump them pretty much as far as their range will allow to another airbase, and it only costs you 1% of your miles flown. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's go to this airbase here. So first LW, we'll just start with first LW. We've got all these planes in here, and you see these percentages here. These are the number of miles flown for this squadron, okay? Now then, we need to go up to our air doctrine screen before we start turn 2 and decide, going forward, or at least early in the game here when we're on the offensive, what do we want our air doctrines to be? And so let's think about this for a second. When do we want squadrons to fly? How many planes have to be available? How much of the squad? I keep calling them squadrons. I'm sorry, I'm used to war in the Pacific. These, of course, for the Germans are swarms, Gruppes. I think, what are the smallest ones called? I don't remember. I'm just going to call them squadrons and just know that what I'm talking about is a group of planes. Okay, I know it's the American term for it, or the Allies term in war in the Pacific, but I'm just so used to saying it. I'm not going to say Gruppe every time and try to pronounce the German correctly. So basically, these squadrons, how much has to be available in the squadron? How many miles left for it to fly? I always think 50% is a good setting. That is just based on experience. Once they get beyond that, you don't want them flying at half strength or less. So 50% is pretty good. Now, ground support, ground attack. What do we want for that? And how much escorts, how many fighters do we want going out with the bombers when they're doing these missions? I find that 80 and 60 is pretty good at the start. That's generally where I will go with these two is 80 and 60. Again, this is experience. It's not a science. It's more of an art. You just have to play the game for a while. I know some people leave these on just 100 and 100 and that's it. Or, you can bump these up if you want more support in your ground attacks, or you want more ground support when the Soviets attack. Bump these up by all means. And you do have air superiority early on. That is going to change. It really in 1941, generally, you have air superiority. So always keep that in mind. You may want to really go all out early on because you do have air superiority. Now, airfield attacks, if we are going to be running any of those, I like to run those very strong and get as much as we can. But I do bump this down to 100. And I always keep the escort like 20% less than what the game was would send on its own. So just something to keep in mind. I do bump up interdiction because I like to kind of wear the Soviet. What is interdiction? Well, when Soviet units move, we send out bombers to disrupt their movement. It can wear them down. So I usually like to bump that up a little bit. Now I can tell you later on when the Soviets start to get to parity with you in the air or get superiority over you, you may want to put this all the way at 0 because you'll be flying those missions and they'll just pick you off. City attack, we are going to bump this up, way up. Because in the north, we are going to be bombing Leningrad as soon as we can up there. And we want as much going on up there as we can get. Did that make any? We want as much going on up there as we can get. Yes, we want to bomb the heck out of Leningrad. And so, let's go after it. Let's go get it. Let's see. Okay, so fighter intercept, night fighter intercept. You can kind of do what you want with that. Ground support. You can turn it completely off. And again, as the Soviets get air parity with you or superiority, you can, turn this off if you start losing way too many planes. You'll know it when it happens. You'll just start losing planes like crazy. So be careful there. Recon escort, early on, you can probably leave this off. As we get later and deeper into the game, you will lose a lot of recon planes if you don't run support with them. Okay, now then, so we've got our air doctrines set up there, and again, just play around with it. 100 is the base. If you go over 100, you're sending more than the AI would. So the AI makes calculations. I find that it does a pretty good job. So maybe you just want to leave them all at 100 and just automate it, have the AI take care of it. But I can tell you later on, that's going to cost you because they will send out air missions. The little men in the machine, will send out air missions, and you will just get picked off like crazy by Soviet aircraft once Soviet aircraft gets superiority over you. Okay, so one rule to keep in mind with your air bases is that the ones that are attached to the either infantry or panzer armies or groups, the ones that are attached to them can only carry recon aircraft, okay? Well, you may say, well, that's kind of a disadvantage, but we can use it. Oh, that's right, Stoffel. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rocket Soccer. Stoffel is right. That's the small, like 4 planes, I think, is a Stoffel. And then I think a Grupa is 20. No, a swarm. A swarm is like 8, and a group is 20, something like that. I'm going to call them all squadrons. How about that? So anyway, these bases. So you have 4 in the north. You have the 4th Panzer Air Base. You have. Let's see if we can go find it. It's going to be right around here. Well, let's just get on the 18th Army. The 18th Army has an air base that's attached to it. Well, that's not it. Is it here? No. I don't want to go. Oh, it's all the way out here. Okay. Nope, that's the 4th Panzer. Is that the... Oh, there we go. Hey, I did it. 18th Army Air Base. Okay, so each one of your armies or groups has one air base to it. 18th Army does, 4th Panzer does, and the 16th Army does as well. Where's the 16th Army one? Now that I'm looking for them, I'm always a completist. I always have to find these dang things. I think maybe we put it up here. Nope, we did not. Oh, it's right behind it. There it is. There's the 16th Army Air Base. Okay, so each one has one, wherever that one went. They can only carry recon planes, which, okay, that's kind of a disadvantage, right? What I do is I stuff all of my recon planes into those, and those are going to be my recon bases. They carry all of the recon, quote-unquote, squadrons, because each air base can only carry 9, all right? So what do we have at the 16th Air Base now? Well, these are all going to be recon planes because they have to be. There's no other choice. So you look up here, recon, you know, so on and so forth. We could go through that, but they're recon. So this is the Panzer one that will be going with the Panzer group. What do we have in the, well, we could go look at those, but they also have recon. So let's go look at a regular base. This is the one we were looking at, 1st LW Luftwaffe Air Base. What does it have in here? It's got, I know these are transport planes. Okay, so transport, we'll talk about those separately. It's got level bombers. Okay, we don't want to move the level bombers. We're going to keep that in here. And I guess we can go look for the name here. Level bomber, that's a Gruppe. It's got 26, so I guess Gruppes go up to 40. Then we've got this group. This is Strategic Recon, the Ju-88Ds. That's a Stoffel. All right. What do we have here? It's another Ju-88D. All right, so we can start to think about these. 88Ds are recon planes. All right, 52/3s are transport planes, and the 88As are actually level bombers. So we want to get the recon out of here. We want to transfer them right off the top. Now, here's another 52/3, so we don't have to worry about that. Now, what is the BF-110C? That is strategic recon, so we do want to move that. Then we have another, what appears to be transport group here. And then we have the DO-17P. What is that? That is, again, strategic recon. Okay, so the DO, the BF, and the Ju-88Ds, we want to move. So how do we do that? Well, we go over here, we click F10. This lights up all of your air bases. We'll click on that air base, and we'll go look for what we just said. So the 52/3s, those are transport planes. 88As are level bombers, but here are 88Ds. We'll left click there, left click there. Now it's another transport. Then we have the 110Cs that we said we want to move. Okay. And we have the DOs here. These are all recon planes, and we're going to move them to a base that can only take recon planes. Now, I clicked on this earlier and saw that it has 4 squadrons essentially in it. Now, it could be a group, a swarm, a Stoffel. It could be any of those. It can only hold 9. So that seems kind of odd, right? You know, you could have a Gruppe that has 40 planes in it. It counts the same against the limit as a Stoffel that has, what, 6 or something? So anyway, we've picked these planes. Now all we have to do, or pick these squad groups, and all we have to do is right click on this. Oh, it's telling us it would exceed 9. I thought I looked at that. Hold on one second. Let's go back. We got to go to move mode. Let's go back to this. Now I thought, oh, this one has 6. Well, that's weird. I thought I looked at it, but it's got, okay, it's got 6. So we tried to put one too many in there. Excuse me. We'll put the extra one somewhere else. But let's go ahead and go back to F10. Click on that airbase again. We got to do this one more time. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're not going to do 4. We're only going to do 3. And let's right click on that. And it says 3 air units transferred. So we've transferred the recon planes over to here. So let's go back to move mode so we can look and see what happened. We'll look here, and yep, they transferred out. And as you can see, their air mile is only 1%. And so that's a very, when people talk about the kabuki dance in this game, what they're talking about is the fact you can take advantage of this system to move planes very efficiently, or more efficiently anyway, because essentially within range, these things can fly wherever, and it only is 1% of air miles. Now you may say, is that like a flaw in the game? Is that a loophole? Is it gamey? Well, I'll say maybe. I think the reason behind that is because ultimately, if you're not going to be flying any missions, you know, every turn, I guess it's a remnant of the fact that every turn of this game is 1 week, right? So, you know, when you're looking over a week's period of time with aircraft, now everything out here is 10 kilometers, right? This thing flew I don't know, let's just, 100 or 200 kilometers, let's say, whatever. For a week's worth of time, that would only take one day. They could refuel and be ready to go, right? And so limiting the number of missions they can fly during a week just because of that little hop probably doesn't make a lot of sense. But it is a great advantage, and so you really need to try to use that advantage to the best of your ability. So let's see what else we have out here. We had the L1, right? And what does it have left? Well, now it's got transport planes, and it's got one group of level bombers. That's all we've got out here. All right. So let's go look at the other Army air bases. Now, where did I say they were? Uh, let's go to this headquarters and we'll figure it out. We know it's not back there. Oh, it's up here. That's right. Here, that's the one I looked at, the 18th Army Air Base. Let's right click on that. Okay, it's only got 3. So let's go around, only 3 recon groups. So let's go around here. Let's see if we can find any more recon. Now, these all look like bombers. We know the Ju-88A is a level bomber. Not a whole lot to do there, but this is a group that we're keeping back a little bit. So as part of this quote-unquote kabuki dance, we're trying to get our bombers and our fighters into the forward air bases, and then the ones in the back, as things get tired or they need to refit or refresh, we'll float them back here, fly them back here. So let's go ahead and do F10 here. Let's click on this airbase, and let's pick 2 groups of these fighters. Now, it doesn't matter how big they are. The 3, maybe we'll leave that here for now, and we'll click on 2 of these and fly it out to LW1. All right, let's do that. And 2 air units are transferred. Now those bombers are out here. Where else do we have any forward air bases? I think I moved one out here somewhere. Oh yeah, that's the recon, that's the recon. Then I think we have some here, but we'll have to go look. You always got to go back to move mode to go find out information. Yep, here's the second LW and the third LW. What do they have? Let's find out. They've got 88As, but they do have recon aircraft here as well. So let's get that recon aircraft out of here. What was that, 3? Let's look on 2. These are all 109 F2s. Those are fighters, all right? So we've got a bunch of fighters here. We may want to kind of spread them a little bit, but let's stay focused here, right? Let's go back to the third. This is the one that has the 88Ds. Let's move those. So we'll go to F10. We'll go here, and then you see it. You see all of the squadrons for both of these, right? So the 109Fs we're going to leave here for now. We have the As, which are bombers. It's the Ds we want to move, and we'll move it up to this recon base. All right, so now that's moved along. And again, you want to kind of make sure you keep the stuff in the north to the north. You're going to need air power here in the north, and a lot of planes are down here in the center. You don't really want to be transferring out of the north. Let's go back to move mode. Let's just make absolutely sure none of these are part of northern units. I don't believe they are. There we go. Yeah, they all connect back here. That's good. All right, now what's at this airbase? I think we said we have, oh, these are recon aircraft as well. No, they're level bombers. Huh, so not all 88As are recon. Keep that in mind before you start transferring too much around. Let's look at these. Level bombers. Oh, right, it's the 88Ds. My bad, I got confused there. 88Ds are the recon aircraft. Okay, so we have bombers. Now we want to get those out to the front. And what other air units do we have here? Well, we can click on F10 and we can see where they all are. So in the north, we have this airbase, these two, we have these two, which are going to be also be forward air bases. And then we have the 2 recon here. And then where is the other recon? It's right there. Or, yeah, there it is. Okay. Now, does this have anything in it? Let's see. It does. All right, well, it's kind of far to the back this time, so let's move those up, and we'll move it up to this guy because we know it's only got 5. So let's go ahead and go to there and try to move it there. 4 air units transferred. Now we have all of our recon aircraft up here to the front, and when we go to move mode here, we could move this guy up now, and it's not going to, it's not going to cost any air miles, because when you do move these air bases, it costs air miles if units are in that air base. All right. So before I forget, actually, I'm going to move this air base just up here for now, because I do not want to forget to move that. It's our 3rd recon group. So we will move it up here after we've transferred those recon aircraft out of there. All right. Now we've got these guys back to the back, and we've also got a lot of fighters in this one group. I want to kind of spread them out. So when I say spread them out, we'll leave 2 here, but we'll put 1 of these in the other air base that's stacked with it. So we're at the 2nd. We'll put it in the 3rd, and we'll put 1 up at the 1st as well. Or actually, these guys are stacked together. Why don't we put 2 up at the 1st? So let's do F10 and we'll click on these guys. All right. So we've got, these fighters. Let's just take the biggest and the smallest of these groups here, and let's transfer them up here. 2 air units transferred. All right. So now we have 2 groups of fighters up here. If we go back to move, now we've got 2 groups of fighters up here. We still actually have a lot of recon aircraft in here. Why is that? What did we leave in here? What do we need? Oh, it's the transport. I'm sorry. This is not only recon, it's transport. We do not need any, well, that's not true. That's not true. We want to always have transport aircraft to as far forward as we can, because we are going to be dropping supply to the panzers with transport aircraft, and so you want them, as far up as we can get them. Now we don't want them all here, so let's transfer some down to those other 2 groups, because I do not believe they had any transport aircraft. We've got 14 here, 13, and we've got 22. Let's move that 22 unit down to these guys. So we'll go F10, click on him, and let's see, 22, there it is, that unit. We will transfer down to these forward air bases. All right. All right, and so I think that almost does it, but we do want to get these bombers, at least the ones that have like 32. We want to get them out to the forward air bases as well. So let's go to move, and let's see what we've got here. 99 bombers here. These groups have 70 and 0. All right, so we're going to move these bombers to there. Let's go to F10, click on him. And let's move the 32 anyway down here. 1 air unit transferred. All right. And then did we have any more here? Yeah, we did. We have these 88As. Let's click on him and also transfer that over there. And then all we have back at these rear bases now are 3 bombers here and 3 bombers there. We've gotten everything else out to the front, and we've only used 1% of air miles for anything that we've transferred. All right, so that's kind of how you start doing the quote-unquote kabuki dance. Hopefully that made sense. I think once you see it, it makes a lot more sense than just listening to someone describe it or trying to read about it. What we're essentially going to do is have this, this airbase, these 2, at the front, and then we're going to have 2 at the back. Now you may get in a situation where This one would have to move a lot and use a lot of air miles, and you may do the hop, skip, jump, where this jumps ahead of it, and then this becomes the rear air base, at least for a turn. It just kind of depends where you are. Sometimes that can make sense, sometimes not. All right, so I think we've moved all of the planes we need to move up here. And the next thing then to talk about is support units and what we're going to do with the support units. Now you may remember, so let's get down in here into the north. You may remember last time that in the commander's report for our support units, support level here, oh, we don't want to do that. Nope. We want to, no. We want to look at the support level. There it is, here, for each of these units. And you may remember that we set up our headquarters. Let's get over here. This is the easier way to do it. No, I don't want to, why do I keep doing that? There we go, support level. We set all of these to 0 except for our main headquarters, right? So we had OKH, and we had the other high headquarters. Let's filter these, none. There we go. These should all be 9. Did it reset after the turn? I've never seen that before. These should all be 9. Huh, interesting, because they all did move up, and so, that must have reset with the turn, because I went and looked before we started here, and everything has moved up a level, and so they are being drawn to the top, but I'm going to go back and reset these again to 9. Why are we doing that? Because we're doing the push-pull method, so we're pulling all of those support units to the top, and we're then pushing them back down where we need them. And what do I mean by that? Well, out here, these divisions could have up to 3 support units directly attached to them. I don't like to do it that way. Now, there is an advantage to that, and that advantage is that they will always be committed to battle if they are directly attached to a unit. All right, so you may say, well, why wouldn't you always have all 3? You go through your divisions and have every division have 3 attachments to it. Well, because you want it committed to battle. Well, the reason you wouldn't do that is it cuts down on your flexibility. When these support units sit at headquarters units, the headquarters, the AI, decides which support units to commit based on what you're doing. So if you're attacking into an urban area, it may give you more engineer units, because engineer units can help you break down an urban area. If you're out here in the plains, but you're fighting a tank division, a Soviet tank division, it may give you more panzer joggers or tank killers if you prefer. So those units that have anti-tank weaponry, it may give you more of those. And the headquarters and the AI, I feel like, does a pretty good job. Now, the problem is that you have to pass a command check to make sure that support unit gets down there. And so some people do like to directly attach here because they don't want to take the chance that the commander fails the command check and they don't get any support units. I can tell you just from experience that the German generals are generally, no pun intended, good enough that they're going to pass that command test a vast majority of the time. It is very, very seldom that you're going to look over at a battle and see that no support units were engaged in the battle. So generally, again, your generals, your German generals, are very good at passing those tests, at least up the chain somewhere, and you get support units into your divisions, right? So the way I like to play is to have no support units at the division level, with one exception. And we're going to get to that in 1 second, but I'm just kind of looking through here and making sure nothing is left down here at the division level. Now here we do have a flak company excuse me, that is anti-aircraft. We're going to click on that and unattach it. That will immediately put it back at the core headquarters. I just want to make sure none of them are down here. Excuse me. I want to make sure none of them are down here at the division level where we can help it. But like I said, there is an exception to that. But now that I saw that one, I'm going to go ahead and just make sure so I know everything we're dealing with. So I'm going to go through every division up here and just make sure that it doesn't have any support units attached. And you'll see, well, that's core headquarters. You'll see that when we right click right down here. They will be shown where they're attached. We have any here? No, none there. None there. All right, I'm pretty confident we don't have any others attached. Now, I said that there was an exception to that, okay? And the exception to that are your motorized units. So Panzers or other motorized units, I do attach one unit to each one of those. So let's right click on here. This has already got one, but I'm going to unattach that for this time. And I'm going to hit assign. And when I hit assign, I can see everything that I can attach to this unit. Now, to motorized units here, you're going to see a much less of a selection than you will with the infantry units, because some of the artillery and whatnot cannot attach to the panzers. But what are we looking for here? What do we want here? We want flak. We want anti-aircraft, and most importantly, we want motorized anti-aircraft to go with our panzers. And so let's go back here and look at our panzer headquarters and see what's here. All right, we just kicked this back to the core headquarters, so we'll have to assign that next time. All right, so it's not in that headquarters, so we'll have to go to the Panzer Group headquarters, see what's here. All right, this is here. The reason I'm doing this is to go look at if I would have clicked on it down at the division level, it doesn't give you the information on the support unit, it attaches the support unit. So you have to be careful. You have to go to the headquarters to go look and see what each of these things are. And so here we see SP Light Flak Battalion. We can go look at what these guns are, how good it is, how good this unit is.